Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it and give this video a like.
Podcast below in the description. Check that out as well.
We're sponsored by Tito's Handmade Vodka.
#1 vodka in America. Go make yourself a cocktail.
Savor response. On YouTube, Dan says Brandon Aiyuk had a 0.00. Yeah, we noticed. What the hell? Now, after the game, Kyle Shanahan said, look, he had the hammy. He had not been practicing full. We got to be a little careful with him. Plus, Trent Sherfield had been right on his heels. My question, though, if he had the hammy, if you were concerned about, workload, then maybe you play him at receiver a little bit. Or you're really concerned about the hammy, you don't play him at all. But that's not what happened. He did end up on a punt return, and that was, I think, the extent of his action. I do not remember. I have not seen an official count whether he took a snap. I do not remember seeing him take a snap on offense. He certainly did not get, targeted or anything.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a story that comes out, maybe we'll learn more if there was a disciplinary action. Clearly, I think it's fair to say he's in Kyle's doghouse. I understand, I'm much more liberal when it comes to hard action with good players. I do understand coaches are an authority figure, especially with young players. And if you feel that something is before it, becomes a problem, you almost want to nip it in the bud. And that's something coaches do a lot with younger players. Sometimes they draw a hard line. This is not, to me, something typically that happens with an established guy. And part of it, you don't have to do that, right? Like Andy would never have to do something with Kelsey, or Kyle would never have to do something with Kittle, or McVay never has to do something with Aaron Donald. Even though those human beings could have a fuck up, right, in life, let alone football wise. I do think you have to be careful with this stuff, though, because for a younger coach, and I think Kyle and just his crew, most of our lives, the younger guys were just their only opportunity to be a head coach was usually in college. I feel like most NFL coaches, in the 90s, even early in the 2000s, looked old. Now there's just a ton of LaFleur. I mean, you and I would die for LaFleur's, waist size right now. They're all kind of look young. They all look like mid-major college coaches. Kyle, for a young, he's 40, 41 years old, is kind of an old school hard ass. That's kind of shit Belichick would do. Again, I've been around Andy and Pat Hill were a little more open-minded with that shit. They just had a soft spot for their elite talent, and they just dealt with it later. And Kyle's not to me, if he's not happy with Brandon Aiyuk this next week, he won't play again. That's just the way he rolls. He's kind of old school with the discipline stuff. And I'm where I come from, and really just the way I lean, I'd be like, yeah, just let him play.
Yeah, I wonder if he were playing the Rams week 1, if he would have let him play. Now, part of the context for this is the tweet from Matt Mayoko this morning. When somebody asked him, where's Brandon Aiyuk, Mayoko tweeted, after a hot start in training camp, Aiyuk tailed off dramatically. He's still learning how to be a pro. Kyle Shanahan clearly favors some other receivers right now. Message sent, right? Now, Matt did not just make that up while he was sitting there watching the game, and he's like, I wonder what the deal is. Maybe Ayuk's not playing because he's learning how to be a pro. He understands the context of what he's saying. So there's something there beyond, the hamstring. But again, I would say even without that context, we could understand if you're concerned about the hamstring, why does he play on punt return? If you're concerned about the hamstring from a workload standpoint, why doesn't he take a few snaps on offense? Make him a decoy.
Once I saw Matt's tweet, I mean, you and I are in this business long enough to know, okay, Kyle's really mad at him. Yeah. That to me, it's no hamstring. There's no injury issue. Kyle's fucking pissed off at him. Kyle was sending a message. Kyle did what, again, back to what I just don't think young coaches really operate like this often, right? Because they're always scared to just piss off a player, talented guys. Kyle is, that's what I'm saying. He is old school for a guy who's 40 years old. Because typically you think, players, coaches, they deal with it separately. That's, which I respect. But my ultimate point is you need this guy. He's one of your most talented guys. You're going to play way more talented teams. And when you have him going with this version of Debo and George, who just is on a mission every time he catches the ball. It's like, George, we got to be careful. We don't need to kill 7 defensive backs. But it's the way he plays. Can you imagine how much talent they have when they have Aiyuk, Debo, and Kittle? Like, that's high
Yes,
end.
I can imagine. I think we've talked about it a lot. I think that's what they need this year. Now, the good news for them is Sherfield clearly is trustworthy. John, let's tell the people about DraftKings. Promo code HAM. Click on the link. Get in our league down below.
How about wineaccess.com/ham? Buy $150 worth of wine, get $50 off, guy. $50 off, wineaccess.com/ham.
Oh, it's the good stuff. Part of this is on Aiyuk. Like, you're in the perfect, you're in a great spot to produce right here. You got Debo, you got Kittle, you got this run game, you got Shanahan. Don't screw it up.
Now I'll even play devil's advocate to what I was saying about Kyle being a hard ass. You could argue that really he's like a modern day Belichick in the sense of there was no fucking around there. So it was a double whammy, right? It's like, if you didn't buy in, he'll bench you, won't play you, do whatever. But then even during the week, there's no fun, or it's all on his terms. Kyle is like that with the game. Like, if he thinks you're fucking around or not ready, he just won't play. He doesn't care. But during the week, and just with his players in general, he is hands off if they just, like, he lets them be them, right? He's not trying to, like, micromanage individuals. He's not old school in that way. He's actually very player friendly. Like, I think if you just look at their star guys, like Fred, George, Trent Williams, whoever, like, they the hell they want, just because he knows football-wise they're a 10 out of 10. Like, to me, the question is Aiyuk half-assing it now in practice? Is he not studying hard enough? Does he just feel like, and part of it might just be Trent Sherfield. You read Larry Fitzgerald's quotes last week, is like, Johnny tryhard here. I mean, so the bar is just like, you got these guys, you got Trey Lance probably studying all these hours. Jimmy's got to match him. There's probably just a lot of studying going on there. And if he thinks you're falling behind, it's like, hey, buddy, you're not going to play.
Well, and also, I don't think anything we've ever heard from a player lines up with the Belichick level of being, I don't want to use the word difficult. Bill's the best NFL coach, one of the greatest coaches of all time. Difficult's not the word, but clearly things are a little looser around Kyle than they are Bill. You basically said that.
That's my point. Yeah.
There's not. I don't get a sense that players at all feel like the opposite, that he's unfair. In fact, players I think often talk about that he is fair, that he treats everybody the same. Now you're saying, well, I mean, your best player, maybe he shouldn't be treated the same, or one of your best players, maybe he shouldn't be treated the same, but. It feels like it's one of the main tenets of Kyle Shanahan's operation, is that there are standards for everybody, and we're all going to hold each other to them. Now, that's also a Bill thing, right? It's why Tom feels like he finally got out of the house at 18 years old now that he's in Tampa. But I think the question is, like, would he have done it if it were a more difficult opponent? Would he have done it if he didn't have Trent Sherfield there that he trusted, clearly? I don't know. But I know this. They're going to need the guy. They're going to need the guy. So yeah, I hope he plays this week, and that this, whatever they just did, fixed it.
You could argue the reality is he did it. So, like, they just need Aiyuk to respond so they can use him, right? It's just that simple. Like, it's over. He got benched. He didn't fucking play, and they're going to need him moving forward badly. Partly because he can excel. Like, in 2 weeks they play the Packers. Every time I looked up, Jameis is throwing bombs. So it's like they have one really good corner. The Eagles' corners are a major question mark. Like, Brandon, like, you can make plays against these teams, and they're going to need you to make plays. So it's like, now you could say the ball's in his court. For whatever he wants out of you, it's clear. He wants something. So you just need to match that. Like, sometimes it is, we're all human beings. So anytime, in jobs I've had, when you get called out, it can be really rattling, whether that's in front of the group you're working with or just you individually. But, like, then it is kind of on you to look in the mirror. Just, well, they've asked me to do something that they thought I wasn't doing. Can I do that? And every time, at least I know for me personally, in football situations, and this is all like, scouting, coaching type stuff. If you answer, they're happy with you. Like, coaches don't. The thing about coaches, sneaky, very short memory of, like, listen, we're mad at you. We need you to figure this out. We want to move on. Because they don't naturally hold on. That's not the way they think, right? They're just already, like, on to the Eagles. So it's like, well, can you, whatever game plan we give, can you just go all out, whatever we're asking?
Unlike your parents when you're 9, Coaches need the players. Your parents, when you're 9 years old and you get in trouble, your dad's mad at you for a week. Like, you're not bringing anything to the table.
Nothing.
You're not earning any money. You're not driving your sister to soccer. You're not bringing it. Like, you are, from the moment you're there and for a long time, you're just you're a minus.
You're a liability.
You're a liability. Yeah. You better, hopefully they like being around you.
That's a good point.
But
Aiyuk
coaches
could be an
need,
asset.
in the end, he needs them.
Yeah.